Steelers, they're eliminated even though they won against the Browns because Miami won. Just to think, this season looked so poor. You have a new quarterback. They're trying to do Trubisky. Watt gets hurt in midseason. Tomlin
trades Claypool.
Yeah, trades Claypool. You wonder, is this
Tomlin's for the 32nd pick in the draft?
Yeah, start to wonder if this is Tomlin's first losing season, but it's not. Absolutely no doubt. And I'm just happen to be sporting like a yellow terrible towel-esque sweatshirt, just in color. I'm not a Steelers fan by any means, but just gotta show them some love.
It's impressive.
Also, Lions with a winning season somehow under Dan Campbell. Whatever the Lions coaching staff is taking, like the drugs that they're taking, I want to know, right? Because some of the play calling, some of the decision making is just absolutely bonkers. It's crazy. And it's been all like that all season. And we saw it in the final drive with just, maybe Dan Campbell and his
hook and ladder sort of call that they called.
Terrible call. Awful call.
No.
It's
It's
hard to argue with. It's hard to argue with, but it makes me sick that it works. It makes me sick that and then they go on fourth down and they pass it when they're up 4. A field goal puts them up 7, and if they run, they could bring it down to 40 seconds or something. They don't want it. They don't want it. They're here to win, and you know what? Good for them. They're out of the playoffs as well.
The offense.
And then, obviously, we're going to have to talk about this probably all offseason, so I don't want to get too much into it. But the Lions do beat the Packers. And in true fashion.
I'm not singing it for copyright.
In true fashion, Aaron Rodgers has a fairly poor performance in a win-or-go-home game in the late season.
I thought there were some dropped passes. I heard that there were some dropped balls this game, perhaps.
He did put a dime on a guy, like a perfect pass, and it just went right through his hands. But he was under some pressure, but he was throwing up he was throwing up bombs just for anybody. He didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's not played great. Like I've seen some of the Packers games this season. He played one against the Patriots. He's definitely there have definitely been some weaknesses. Not to say that everything about the Packers is all about him, and that there's not the receiver core or whatever. But blah blah blah. But him personally, there have definitely been some problems this season.
Yeah. So
in terms of accuracy, so on.
We'll talk a lot about what the plan is with the Packers. What he is. I was personally frustrated by the announcers and the telecast infatuation with Aaron after they lose the game. I know the Lions aren't going to the playoffs, but Seattle's going to the playoffs because of this, and the Lions just had their first winning season. But
it's not about them, Jared. It's not about them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's about Aaron right now.
Yeah.
It's his time. Wait your turn. Go sit in the corner, right, facing the wall. Wait your turn. We got to talk about A-Rod right now.
Yeah. As always,
Alex Rodriguez.
So yeah, we'll hit on that, but I can't deny that I was very excited about how everything went.
I sent you a video. Now I sent you a video of and you responded, but you didn't respond as much as I specifically on what I was talking about. But the video of Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb walking and rocking, arms around each other. Around each other, walking back, dejected, just right because they've been playing together for a while, right? Aaron wanted Randall Cobb back, he got him back, so on, right? And walking off like that, and maybe it's just the camera angle, the fact that they were following them the whole way like that, they kept putting their arms around. Maybe it was all just theatrics or the cinematography of the NFL. I don't know, but thoughts on that? That was almost a tearjerker, dare I say? Dare I say that could that have pulled out a couple of tears down your face?
No, not. One of my close friends texted me that he learned from the best. This is basically becoming when Brett Favre retired and then didn't retire, then did retire, then retired, but then went to the Vikings. Like this is basically what we're what we're up for here. So no, not a single tier, and
Kirk for Rodgers straight up. If you're the Vikings, do you take that? Kirk for Rodgers, or the Packers, do you take that? Kirk for Rodgers straight up?
no, not the Packers. Packers got Jordan Love, and they if they're gonna make a move, they got to move to him. They can't. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
I think that's fair. I agree with that. And I want to say this as a warning, because not to think that what I'm about to say is just homerism, is just me being such a Patriot. It is not that. I do not think they should make the playoffs. And frankly, I think it's probably better for the team to have lost this game, get the better pick, don't make the playoffs, tank your pick, get embarrassed again in Buffalo. Even though if they won this game, they would have beat Buffalo. I still think they would have gotten embarrassed in the playoffs again. Yeah. And so in that sense, it's good. But what I have to say, was a horribly officiated game. This was one of the worst officiated games I have ever seen. Like the no call game, that's where it was a playoff game, and that call will go in the history books as a terrible call. So it may not be quite at that level, but it was. I have a whole list. I have a whole list that I'm not going to go into, but for me, there's just certain, I don't know. I don't want to go into list. I've accepted it. I've moved on.
But you like the record to show that it was a terribly officiated.
It was they were cut and dry penalties that were just so clearly missed. Bills players lining up offsides. A player actually going offsides. Like the easiest penalty in football to call. Literally the easiest penalty in football. Yeah, I would say easier than a false start. Easier than a false start to call. And they messed it up like first quarter of the game. And instead of Patriots getting 5 yards, minus 6 yard run, because the defensive tackle's in the backfield before the play starts. And that's just one example. They call. I've never before seen an off the ball offensive pass interference call. I've never seen that before. I would have thought that might be holding. I've just never, obviously you see offensive pass interference when you're like the people fighting for the ball. No, this was off the ball. I don't know. I've never seen it. I literally see defensive holdings on field goals. I've seen more of those. I remember more of those than I do off the ball offensive pass interference. That Romo himself, who all game had been, let's say warm. He had been warm to the Bills, right? Let's say he was maybe not fully impartial. Even because he was covering up other penalties. There was a clear DPI by Matt Milano on Damian Harris, the running back, in the end zone, by the way, in the end zone. It's not like in the end zone. That Romo's like, I don't know. You need to have contact. And then we literally witnessed contact on the replay. And then he's like, and you can hear, he's processing. You can hear the processing. You can hear the steam coming out his ears trying to process. And he's like, maybe that's not impactful contact. Even he on this play said, wow, that's just a bad call. Just straight no kind of dodging around it. He just straight up said it. And there's other things. Let's be honest. Every kickoff in NFL history has a holding or a block in the back or a face mask or something. And you're telling me, are you going to tell me that there were two return for a touch, two complete, right? 100 yards worth of kickoff returns, multiple of those. And you're going to tell me that there weren't enough to call? I saw a shot of literally multiple, in one moment, the two closest defenders to Hines, that's his last name, two closest Patriot special teams players to him, both of them being, I think one was a hold, one may have been a block in the back or something. I would have to see the photo, and I don't have it in front of me. But on one of them, they were literally like it's right there. If you look at, you may not have seen it on the other cast, but when you look at it from the forward view, and you see him running towards you, it becomes very clear. And that's a kickoff to whatever. You could call those on literally every. That's a smaller one for me, even though it's a lot of points. That's smaller because kickoffs are just whatever. But
yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you're.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you give up two touchdown
penalties.
returns.
No, I know. All I'm saying. It's not that simple. That's all. That's all I'm saying.